Did you see it on the screen?
Yes, doctor.
All right. Okay. So actually, frankly speaking, milestone 4 is the beginning of the coming chapter that we are supposed to do, which is what? We have finished the register. So the next chapter is on finite state machine, right? So, like it or not, before I start milestone 4, I have to give introduction to that chapter. So that means next coming lecture, I will kind of repeat again the slide. Just now, I focusing on topic that require for milestone 4. Yeah. So now, what you're doing is in your milestone 4 is sequence detector, right? And your sequence detector has two input, which is D and N. So D could be like and this sequence detector, the application is more like it can be like combinational lock. For example, you have to have a sequence, then it can turn on, or vending machine system, whereby you D is for dimes. That is actually American slang. Dimes is 10 cents and nickel is 5 cents actually. So in both cases, these two inputs, first of all, that you need to know is that like vending machine, you put the dimes or the nickel or the coins must be using one single slot, right? Coin slot. Therefore, that is impossible for you to put the dimes and the nickel together. So when you do your simulation, you have to make sure that the input condition when you apply the input, you never put the D input and the N input to be one or active simultaneously. That is the first thing that you have to remember. Yeah. And actually, in the textbook, most of the sequence detector is only one input sequence detector. However, in your milestone, you have two inputs, which is D and N. And D can be 0 or 1, and the N also can be 0 or 1 in binary. Now, what you do in milestone 4 is actually find introduction to finite state machine. So therefore, you need to know the FSM. FSM stands for finite state machine. Machine is basically a glamour way of saying circuit lah. Yeah, digital circuit. State is actually transition or memory. There's a memory element. Finite means it doesn't go beyond like forever and ever. The numbers has to be finite. I mean, the state has to be finite. I mean, the number of state, there should be a number of it, not like infinity, like normal mathematics. That's why we say finite state machine. I mean, previously, all our sequential circuit, for example, counter and so on, that require memories, those are all FSM, right? It's just that when we come here for the digital system, we kind of make uh, brand lah, new brand for it. We called it finite state machine. Yeah. So the finite state machine structure, generally, they can have three structure, but I will emphasize only two structure. The first one is called more finite state machine. Yeah. So what is more? Is now every finite state machine has next state, register, and output logic. Eh? So actually, the present state is the output of the register, and then when you fed back the output, the present state, that is the input for the register is called next state logic, and you have the output logic, and you have the input. So the state is here. The state is actually the memory of the register. So memory, you have the present memory after clock coming in, the next memory, that's the next state, and so on. So it is actually a time control, clock control. Now the output logic is pure combinational logic. Next state logic is pure combinational logic. The memory part is the register part. So this is a combination. Now, what is more structure? You have the input coming to your next state, and then you have the present state, and the output only depend on the present input. So actually, the next state is uh, is depend on the input. However, the output depend on only the register. So that means depends on the present. So therefore your output will look like triggered by clock, and it has to follow the law. It only change when clock triggered, when clock coming. Now, on the other hand, melee is when your input now can also not only it goes to the next state, but also it can also go to the output logic. So therefore now, this is the present state as before. The rest is structure is the same except for the input. So that means for melee, your output not only depends on the present input, but also the state. Yeah. So that is the only different. The other one, the third one, which I did not mention, but I will mention in class, is a combination of, I think, modified melee, such that it has another, or combination melee more. The circuit can also be a combination of melee and more. And those who has done the traffic light digital lab, you notice that your traffic light controller has both the melee output and the more output. Huh? Now, when you do your FSM, the target is to design procedure. So when you do your FSM, first you conceptualize. So what you conceptualize in your milestone is you want to conceptualize a vending machine system that receive two inputs, which is dime and nickel, and will trigger output when a certain sequence is received. Yeah. But of course, this is kind of modified vending machine, because the actual vending machine, it doesn't have to follow sequence as long as the total input reach certain number, right? For example, you put nickel, 5, 15 cents, 10, 5, 15 cents. That is actual vending machine. However, this one probably more like you go to the ATM machine, you have your 4 digits number to key in. It has to be in sequence. Then only it pass the process. But your keyboard, if you notice, you cannot press more than one keypad at one time. Yeah. Unlike our computer keypad, you can do alternate or control something. But the simple keypad. Yeah. And then once you conceptualize, you have to come up with a state diagram. So that state diagram is actually describing the design that you want to do in a graphical way. Once you have the state diagram, you will transfer. First, you for each state you give name to it. The naming of the each state in binary numbers is called state encoding. You give coding, a binary coding. There are a few methods. You can have binary encoding, you have a gray code encoding, you have one hot method encoding, and a few things. Then from the encoding, state diagram with the encoding, you come up with state table. State table, exact description of the state diagram. So if your state diagram is correct, whatever that you have in the state diagram should appear the same as in the state table. The reason you do the state table, if you want to get equations, so unless you use one hot method, you can get the equation straight from the state diagram. But if you use binary encoding or gray encoding or whatever other encoding, you have to get your equations using, for example, K-map or Boolean algebra to get the equations. When you get the equation, for example, F is equal to AB plus C bar, whatever, then you can implement the circuit. Then only you can implement the circuit, right? So there are the process. Okay. You don't jump. Only in one hot method, you jump from this state. Actually, you do the encoding and you jump from here to the equation. That is why, if you notice in your assignment, some of you asking me, uh, why melee, why not more in the next question. Now, you notice, let's go to the state diagram. This is example. I'll come back to that. Now, this is a one example of state diagram. So state diagram, there are, on the left side is more, on the right is melee for the same problem. For the same problem. Now, in the more type of finite state machine, the output is inside the state. So the round shape is defined as the state. So you have two states. You have state A, you state B. The input is this one. This 1, 1, 0, 0. This is the input. So maybe you can label the input as X or Y or D or N, whatever. So this is single input. So the output stay inside the state, which means the output only depend on this state B. So the input here did not influence, that no direct influence on the output. So this is more. So the line here is transition. This transition is actually based on clock. So for example, you are here. Once the clock coming, then you see from your design what happened. If your input is 0, it will go back to itself, meaning the data is kept and the output is not triggered. Now, sometimes the output here, to simplify the state diagram, for the 0 output, you don't have to show, but only for one output you show. So because when you don't have anything at the state, meaning there's no output triggered. So only this one is emphasized. So here, if your input is 0, you remain in the state. If the input is 1, you move to another state when clock coming. And then from the B state, if your clock, when the clock coming, if your input is 1, you stay there. If it's 0, you go to A. This is actually one flip-flop. One flip-flop, one type of flip-flop. I don't remember. I think D flip-flop, probably. Because when for D flip-flop, when your input is 0, if your current state is 0, it stay there. And D is 1, it goes to the set. If it's still the 1, and keep the data. If it's 0, then it changes state to 0. Right? So this is more. Now, as for melee, the output, now the state is clear. There's nothing inside the state, A and B. So this A is the name of the state, okay? We name it as A and B. Sometimes in vending machine, you say S5, S0, S1, S2, S3, S4, or S5, S triggered, age, or whatever that suitable to describe the top level that you want to design. Okay, so in the melee type, your transition, in the transition line, you have two information. On the left side is the input. On the right side, differentiate by a slash, is your output. So this is your input, this is your output. And usually you have to put, actually you should put a label here. Input is what? Variable, and output is what? Variable. Sometimes you can even put in variable instead of in binary numbers. So again, the state is the same, but the output is at the transition. So that means you look at it 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. But there are three places whereby the output is 0, 0, 0, and the output will trigger only when you are from the B state and you receive your present input of 0. You get the output. Otherwise, your output will always be 0. Okay. So then you translate. So I have to put it back because I don't want to keep going back from top to below. So in the mode state, for example, then you translate this state diagram into state table. But here is a basic translation, meaning the name of the state is not yet defined. I mean, you don't give the encoding. If you want to give encoding, now you have two states. If you want to give name to these two states in binary, right, only one bit is enough. You can give A as state 0, B as 1. That's what I did. Assign A to 0 and B to 1. If you have more than two states, then you need 2 bits or 3 bits. That depends on the number of states, right? So here is a symbolic. It's still in symbolic state diagram because the state is not using the binary coding, right? So for example, if you are in present state is A, right? And your input is 0, look at here. So that means your next state has to be, right? Annotation. Let me scribbling this thing a bit. So here, right, from state A, if your input is 0, which is this one, it will go back to itself. So that's why you got A. Remember, this is more input. What is the output? I can leave the output until the last step. If from state A, if your input is 1, input A. This is a bit confusing, right? You state A, input A. So state input A is different thing. By right, you should know. put A. This one input maybe S0. Maybe you say this one is S0 and S1 so that you don't confuse the state and the input, right? So let's say that means this will be S0. So if the input is 1 here, it goes from A to B. That's why your next state is B. Now, maybe you put the input as X. Leave this one so that because you will use a lot of that. Okay, so not to confuse your input. Let's say your input rather than the A, make it as X. No, don't care X. So let's say the input here is X. X the input here the X. Now, if your input X is 1, this one, that means it will move from A to B, this one. So that's why you fill out with a B. However, if you are now in B, now your present state is B, you are here. So coming the clock, and let's say if your input is 0, it will transition to A. So that's why you put A. However, if your input is 1, it will stay in B. So exactly you duplicate this area to this area. I mean, you follow exactly what you have in the state diagram into state table. How about the output? Now, the output depend on the state. So that means if your present state is A, and you see the A inside A is nothing, 0. Therefore, for both condition of the input, the output is A. However, when you are in B, the output is 1. So for both condition of input, because the output did not depend on the present input, not directly. So B here is 1. So that's why you have 1. Okay? That's how you do it. Right. Now you can, I show you this is when you include the encoding, the coding for the input. So now I keep I say let input X. Now I want to shortcut. I want to shortcut because I have the milli output and I have the more output. So I will refer to these two. Can we do that? I think can. Let's see. Let's try. Can we share this one? Let's say now now the state usually we use Q because state is the output of a flip flop. So flip flop usually we denote the output as Q, either the D flip flop, and we focus with D flip flop. As I mentioned before, for digital systems we only focus on D flip flop. We not use JKT or whatever. JKT, SR sometime in application, but for design or analysis we won't do. We won't use JK or T. So that's a good news for you actually. Now, so this is the state. Only one bit is required because you have only two states. So name it 0 and 1 rather than A and B. Just say state 0 and state 1. So this is 0 and this is state 1. Not the 0 or 1. This is the one underneath the A is the output. So A equals 0, B equal 1. That is the state encoding. So that means if the X is 0, what happened? Now I have to write. Yeah? Wait. That means I need the annotation. Okay. Let's try to do it together. What should it be? Now my pen is not coming. All right. Maybe I should turn off my video, right? Wait. So that your memory is less. How do I do it? Okay. Oh, I forgot to record. I hope you still recording this if you want. Right. Where is it? That's my pen. Now I leave it open here for us to do it together. Okay, good, Yusril. Where's my pen? I cannot click my pen. I can do annotation again, cheating a little bit, coming back. Usually it works. Here. Right. Now, starting from you are here, this is now I use this is 0. This is 0. Actually, this is 1 now. That's what I mean by this 0 and this 1. Okay. So If your input is 0, why am I having the big pen? I want the pencil. Now, if your x is 0, it remain here. Therefore, this one has to be 0. Right. If this is the next state. If you're from here, if it's 1, it go to 1. You have 1. If you are from the number 1 state, state 1, so if your input is 0, it goes to 0. And if you are in 1, if the input is 1, you stay in 1. So that means you stay in 1. So basically, this is A, B, B. Now, what about the melee output? Melee output, you are referring to this one. As you transition, you see the output here, 0, 0, 0. That means as you go from 0, input is 0, you are referring to this one. Your output R is 0. Okay. When your X is 1, that means you are moving from here to here. Here. So when your X is 1, your output is 0. So you always refer to present output. And from 1, if your input is 0, your output is 1. So that's why you got 1 here. And if you are here and your input is 1, your output is 0. That's how you fill up your melee output. Whereas for the more, it's much easier because for as long as you are in 0 state here, your output will always be 0. So you just put 0, 0. For as long as you are in the state 1 here or B, your output will always be 1. So you have 1, 1. You see the difference? So that means for the more output, this one will always should be the same regardless of the input. Whereas for the melee, look at this one, you are still in state B, but because your input is changing, your output is also changing. Okay? Are you clear? So you should be able to do this. Eh? And the situation should always try to follow this method. You use when you do your state table, you have present state, you have present input, you have next state, you have output. So maybe you can clarify either it's a milli or more. And the output can be more than one. Yeah, but in your milestone, only one output, which is the R. I think R stands for um, release. Okay. 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 What is this? Melee? We have done this one indirectly, right? For melee, melee, that means this one we already done it. But this is the abstract one whereby your you haven't give the name for this one. So actually, if you go back to the one before, you name this as 0, and you name this as 1 in binary. Therefore, this will be 0, this will be 1, this will be 0, this will be 1. And obviously, here is 1. So only 1 is from the B state, which is from 1. And only when input is 0. So when input is 0, that's why you got only 1. The rest is 0. Okay? That's how you do it. Stop me if you cannot follow, okay? Now, this is now going back to your assignment. Let's say if you have, I already give you the answer, but I just explained to you because I thought it'd be difficult, but actually I can use a whiteboard. Later on, I use the whiteboard for different sequence. Just tell me which sequence you want after this. This is for, I think I use this sequence because so happened one of your friend Huda Maulidu Huda is asking me personally to check her work. So I did all the process, including the simulation. So I will show you the simulation as well. So when you do the detection, this is one of the application of FSM, right? So when you do your simulation, for example, you want to detect D and N. So these are two input. That means your input is your input. Or you have two input. Which is it? You have the D and N. Right? Two input. Now, the simplified version, this is a simplified version. Now, the red color one is actually the first thing that you have to do. The start is default. You should do the red color one. Then only you add the other one. Now, for example, if you want to detect D followed by N, followed by N, followed by N, that's a sequence. So that means from assume S0 is your first state because when you reset, you're always automatically going here. So if you receive D, it goes to the S1. Okay, stay here. Then you receive the N. You go to state 2, save. Meaning in the state 2, they know already this state. You already remember you have found the D and you have found the N. And then you see the other N, you go to state 3. Now this is melee. This is melee machine. Melee. I don't put the output. Why? I just simplify the table. I just put the output where it needs to be put. That means, and then when you have the, actually you just say N also can, but I say N D bar, then only you have the output triggered. So this one. So you start with 1, 2, 3, 4. That means the correct sequence or the wanted sequence, right? Then only you start figure out if you are in the S naught. And also remember, D should not, D equal N should not occur. What does it mean? D should not be equal to N. Or you can say D N should not be equal to 1. This one is a no-no. This is also another condition. Yes. You have any question? I didn't check the chat. If you have any question, just check. Okay. If you have any question, what is it? Oh, sorry, Yusril, you asked something. Ask me lah, direct. What is it, doctor? How about the upper when we have more than 3 stage? More than 2 stage. I will go. This is an example lah. When you have more than 2 stage. You asking me 9:28. Now it's 9:31. Okay, just about. Hey, you can unmute your microphone, okay? Right. This is a situation. Usually when you have more than one, more than 2 states. You have 4 here. Now for melee, this is the rule for melee or the hint for melee. If you have 4 sequence, 4 pattern, 4-bit pattern, or 4 pattern like this, you need only 4 states. And you will notice later on when you have more FSM, you need another additional one. So you start with the red, and I put the ND bar R or just N/R actually here. And then let's say, however, if you get now, actually you have to consider both cases from S0. If your output now you consider if your input is D, you go here. What if the input is N? Or what if the input is N bar D bar? So that means with no input coming in, you stay. You waiting here, regardless how many pulses has gone, 100 pulses. As long as you don't receive anything, you just stay here, right? Even if you receive N actually, but it doesn't show, I think it's understood. It will go back here as well. Okay. I think this thing can also be even if you say going back here, if it's N and D bar, and also it going back here. But it's just too much to write. For the editor, state editor, it's enough if you say this one is good enough already. But if you want to complete all possibility, what are the possibility from here to going here? Apart from here, apart from D n equal 1, you can have 0, 0. You can have, if you use Dn, 1, 0 is here, or 0, 1 is here, or 0, 0 is here. Yeah? You can do that as well. But I think it's just crowded putting the n here. So I think you can just do away and it works. You don't use this one. Now, however, let's say if you are in the S1, rather than receiving N, you receive D. Now, if you receive D, I mean you go back to square one. You go back to square one. You have to stay here because this is your D. This is your D. So that means if you've seen N, that means the second sequence will look from the D is from here and the N is from here. Right? This is like, for example, if your sequence is D, okay, and your next sequence is again D. It's again D, second one. So that means rather than go to the next state, it has to stay here. Okay. Now, if you receive N, we already sort this one. So this is settled. If then go here, if D go here, return. For S2, if N go to state 3, but what if D? If D, then you have to go back because if after you receive, then you go, if you see N, you go to S2. But now if you see D, now if you see D from here, then you have to restart. But you don't restart from here. You can restart from here because you can take this D as your initial D that you want. Okay? And then you go to the next and see if you see N. So you go to S3. Sorry. From here, D, this D, if you see N, you go to S2. And then from S2, if you see another N, so this D, this N, another N is here. So I'm doing this way. 1, 2, 3. I'm doing this one. 1, 2, 3. Now you are in state 3. If you receive now by, I missed this one. This is supposed to be D. Yeah. If you receive D, I missed this one. This is supposed to be D. Yeah? If you receive D, that means you have to, if you receive D, yeah? Now you want D and N. Suddenly you got D. That means you have to go, you have to start again here. You start again. You don't start from here. You start from here because this D you can keep and you look for N and N. So that means now you go back to S1 and then you go back, for example, now you go to S2, now you go to S3. But at the S3, if you see another N, okay, done. Okay, detect. Detect, that means you will go to S0. So if you write the state process, it's like you start from S0. If you see another D, you still stay in S0. If you see N, you still stay in S0 because, sorry. You see N is what you want. Sorry. Mistake. Oh, okay. Let me try. This one. Let's say, what do we do? I've erased all the process. Let's say, let's assume we do this one. This is example. Okay. If your sequence is D, N, D, E, N, N, what will be your state? Your state will be the first, let's say you always start, okay, let's say just D. You always start from the SO state, okay? When you see D, think you don't need to say the S naught. S naught is default. This one is not matter. This one is not matter. Starting from here. From S naught, if you receive D, it will go to S1. Right? Receive D. And then if you receive N, it will go to S2. If you receive D, oh no, D going to S1. So you turn back to S1. Now you are in S1. If from S1 you receive another D, you still stay in S1. Right? You keep, because you see D, you still stay in S1. And from S1, if you receive N, you go to S2. And then you are here. If you receive another N, you get S2. If you receive another N, well, it's the third N, right? This is the third N. First N, second N, third N. Okay. S3. This is S3. This is supposed to be S3. And then you see the fourth, the 1, 2, 3. Now here, you got, it goes to back to S0. So when you do your timing waveform, try to see this. That's why I like you to do the hardware. When you do the hardware, this one will use two switches. This one you use LED, and you also have LED for R. For this one, the R is 0, the R is 0, the R is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Wait, between here to here, there only you got one, right? Or is it the S3? No, S3 you haven't got. Like somewhere in between here, you get, because it's transition. The transition, you will get the L1 here. Okay, so that means, and this one should stay one pulse. Let's say, for example, I have another N. This one will go back to 0 and it will stay 0. You want to force this one to be 0 because here there's no R here. Okay, and but when I do simulation, I notice that the single D, single N is okay. But when it comes to the turn small feedback like this one, the software require you to write it as D bar, N bar, D, N. No, this one is okay. No need to, this one can still apply. This one you have to write N bar D, N bar D. Then only it can convert from the SMF file into the .v file. This is one is when you fill up. This I'm showing you this one for the sake of if you use binary encoding. Now, if you use the first assignment, use state editor, right? For state editor, is enough for you to have this or this. This is the same, right? Because N bar, N D bar, N D bar, this is the same as this one, but like fully explain the whole thing. Now, if you use binary encoding in 4.4, for milli is okay, for more cannot. Why more cannot? I'll show you later. Now here, now I give assignment. This is called binary state encoding. Now right, annotate. Now I give name because you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 state. So to name each state in a binary way, you need at least 2 bits. So that maybe S0 is 0, 0, S1 is 0, 1, S2 is 1, 0, S1, S3 is 1, 1. If you use gray binary encoding, that means S0, 0, 0, S1 is 0, 1, S2 is 1, 1, S3 is 1, 0. Also can. Alright? Sometimes maybe better. So I am applying the normal binary encoding. So that means I have the state S00, which is this one. This is actually S0. 01 is actually S1. 10 is S2. And 11 is S3. However, if you remember, ND cannot be 1. Therefore, when ND is 1, you put it as don't care. You put it as XX. XX, XX. This condition, we assume will never occur. So in your simulation, don't do that. Otherwise, you violate your design. Okay? And then, see, here, pen. So, look at this one. Now this is 0, 0. The name is 0, 1. The name is 1, 0. The name is 1, 1. Right? So I don't know why I'm using, let me see, use red. So if you are here, if n is 0, you are referring this right. And n is 0, d is 0, this one has to stay inside. So 0, 0. Okay. What will be your output? No output triggered. So 0. If your input is 0, 1, that means your d is 1. D is 1. So it will go to state 1. Therefore, here will be 0, 1. I think I'm using 10, right? Betul lah. If you are in 1, 0, now you are here. Sorry. If your n is 1, you still go to here because it's not defined anywhere, right? Or from you when you are in this state, if n is 1, what happened? It's not defined, meaning it stay. You stay 0, 1. That's how you fill up. And here, all the time, as long as you are here, is 0. So this is 0, 0. Okay? Now, you are here, 0, 1, S1. If your input is 0, 0, it is not mentioned here. Therefore, you don't change state. No trigger. And the output also 0. If you are 0, 1 and D is 1, D is 1 is this one. 0, 1. Yeah, this is 1. That means you stay, sorry, 0, 0. Not 0, 0. It should be 0, 1 because you stay. Don't change, right? If you are 0, 1 and your dime, your D turn on, so D is going back here, so you stay in that state. You don't change state. So R is still 0. Okay? If your N now, N triggered, that means this one. Now you change to state 1, 0. And your output is still 0. Now this one you can put X. Ayo. Actually, I don't want to change my pen because it doesn't allow me. Yeah. If I turn this annotation, you will have all disappear. Shall I do that? I do it second time. Okay, I will do it quickly. I will do it. I'm going to use okay, this pen. Again tadi 0, 0 is 0. 0, 1, D. D is this one. It go to 0, 1. 8, 1. And if 1, 0, the N is stay in 0, 0. If I make mistake, tell me. Whereas the R is 0, 0. Okay. Second one, if you are in this state, S1, so this is state S1, this state S0. So if you are in the state S0, sorry, S1, if no D, no nickel, no dime, you stay in 0, 1. I mean, you stay in this state. If you detect dime, you, sorry, Aish. Oh my gosh. I should mute it. All right. Where's my pen? Pen disappeared again. Okay. Change it. Okay. So when from start state 1, 0, 1, if your dime is stay that stay 0, 1. 0. If you receive nickel here, you go to S2. So that's why the next state is 1 and 0. Okay. And the output is still 0, 0, 0, X because R is still not triggered. Now you are in S2. So S2 is here. Right? So if you don't receive anything, stay in S2. If you receive dime from S2, you have to go back to S1. Right? To go back to S1, meaning you have to go next state is the next state is 0, 1. 1, 0, go back to 0, 1. If I use whiteboard, it won't have like this, right? And then if you receive N, N you go to S3. So now you change to S3. But still none of the R is triggered. So again 0, 0, 0. Don't care. Okay, now you are in state 3. S3. So if you look again, if you don't receive anything, stay in S3. If you receive D, D is this one. If you receive D, you go back to S1. So S1 is 0, S1 is 0, 1. If you receive nickel, now you go here. Right, the N. If you receive N, you go to state 0. You go to state 0 because you are talking about this one. And at the same time, actually, during this one, we triggered. This is not triggered. This is 0. This is 0. Are you clear, everyone? How many of you here?
Doktor. Clear, doktor.
So far follow, eh?
Clear, doktor. Follow.
Yes, follow.
Right. You have any question? Okay. This is more. Now more what happened? In the previous example, you put R, so here like arba, or you put 0 on the another version, you can put, somebody is coming to my house. Just wait, pause. I think my daughter is buying something. From Daniel. Then I'm coming back. Are you here? Daniel asked me, Doctor, then at S0 isn't when D equal 1, output R equal 1. Are you returning to the previous one? What does mean no? You understand already? Daniel? I understand already. Okay, good. No video. Right. Now if you want to do more, I simplify. This is a simplified more. Again, you start with the red color, the red root. Okay. So that means you detect D, you go down. The first thing that you notice, you want to detect 1, 2, 3, 4. D, N. For more, you require one more state, right? That the output has to reserve to another new state, right? So you detect the D from S0, this is the reset. You always start from S0, Saiki is joining. Dia join sampai hilang kita. Alright. So, you are from reset. Okay. Why does not default? The default, if it would be nice if the default is the small pen. Here. You detect D, go to the next state. You detect N, go to the next state. You detect another N, go to another state. You detect another N. So you have 3N now. D, N. Then you trigger the output. So the part that you don't have output, you just leave it blank. That means no output is there. No output not mean don't care. No output means 0. So the output, because we use positive logic. Positive logic meaning when it triggered, it becomes 1. If it's not triggered, it becomes 0. Okay. Now, so if you don't receive anything, you have to stay in S0. Now, while you are in S1, if you instead of receive N, what you want, you receive D, you have to stay in that state. I mean, you keep this D. So now the new process is from this D, not from this D. And then if you see N, go here. Now from the state 2, you already have D, you already have N. You're looking for another N, but suddenly D coming. If D coming, you have to go back to S1. I mean, you have to restart the sequence because you break the sequence already. It's like you have D, and then you have D, so you have to stay in S1, and then you have N. Oh, nice, you got the N, and then suddenly you got D. So if you got D, that means over here you got D. You have to restart. I mean, that's why you go back to S1. Not restart here, here because you still have this D. This D is counted as your D that you want. So you got D and N. Now from here, you have, if you go N here, but if you got D, instead of N, you got D, so you have to restart from here. Not here, because you need 2N. So therefore, you have to go back to S1, right? go to the S1. So this D is counted. D, you recount. You restart. D and N. So now your starting is from here, 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 and here. So this still got a sequence D, N, N. And once you complete D, N, you got the R. So, and then here, the red color one is 1. Actually, no condition. Once you trigger the output, it will automatically, the 1 means you auto. How do you write? Automatic. You can write 1 or you can just leave the line blank. If you leave the line blank, meaning, no, this one. If you can write 1 or you can just leave it blank, it means by default, once you trigger the output, it has to go back to the start. Yeah, you don't start here or you don't start there. Okay, you don't ask anymore for input. Whatever the input that you get, you always go here. This is like in vending machine lah. Your or door, the door is open, and while it's open, you have to go back to the close the door, and you can start again. Now you have how many states? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, you require S4. S4 or you have 5 states, right? You have 5 states. Now you have 5 states. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 states. Okay, so you can name the state. You need 3 bits because if you have 2 bits, maximum you can have only 4 names, right? For coding, for codes. So therefore you need coding. So maybe you use binary coding 00000 for S0. This one for S0, S1, S2, S3, S4. So you need 3. 3 bits meaning you need 3 flip flop or 3 flip flop. Okay, so the number of the bits actually they decide on how many flip flop you need. Okay, and then the 3 bits plus the N and the D, you have how many? 5. You need 5 input, so you cannot use. Difficult to use K-map because you require 5 variable Q2, Q1, Q0, N and D. Hey, with Mealy can you get Mealy? You need 3, right? You need 4. So 400011011. Okay. If you have only 4 state, you can only use 00011011. So that's why for Mealy, it's okay for you to do binary coding. But for more difficult because you have 3 plus 2, so that means your state table that you need to solve already have 5 variable. Your input is basically the present state and the input. So your present state got 3, and then you have 2, so that become 5. That's why you cannot use more. So if you ask me why, this is the reason. Actually, we don't want to trouble you. You can still do it, but it's difficult because you learn K-map only up to 4 variable. Alright? But actually, I prefer more somehow because more you see the sequence B and I mean it looks much clearer, isn't it? And the output state inside the state. It's not cluttering within the line. The line is kind of simple. I mean that's my personal preference. Okay. Now, because the reason for this morning is not for lecturing, but for your milestone 4. So let's go to milestone 4. This is my melee approach. So you need to, what I notice is that this is using the state machine. This is my first approach because I thought when I cannot simulate, it will be unable to remember. Let me see. What you do is first you do the state diagram. So you generate something called file dot smf, right? Isn't it? And then after that, you need to convert this one into .v. V is very log file. From very log file, then only you can compile. And you compile and you can simulate. So there are how many steps? You have the SMF is the drawing, and then you do to Verilog, and then you can compile and you simulate. But the process for SMF to V, I noticed you need to use this, you need to use this, and this one. But going from here to here, you can simplify. I mean, you can do D and also is also can. Now, what I do is I put next clock instead of present clock. So you need to. There are a few boxes, right? The new thing in the setting. One is a general setting. So the general setting. How can I reduce? What is this general setting? Uh, you have to say your what is that? Let me see. Let me see. Let me close the annotate so that you can see. You have to say this is the output. Oh, wait. You start from general. This transition. This is the action. This is the general. The general S1, S2, S3, S0 reset state. So reset at S0. I say yes, and then no, because I want to always start from S0, although the S0 is the lowest. I want it to start from here. So that's why S0 is yes, the rest is zero or no. And then for the output, okay, I want to observe not only the R, but also the state. So because I already changed this one to S0, S1, S2, S3, I have to give different name to for the output port for this one because I want to observe the state, not only just the R. So that's why I put S0, S1, state 0, state 1, state 2, state 3. And R I register. That means I want to make the R stay for 1 clock. And then I check output state. I somehow the default is current clock, but I change it to next clock. But I think it may not be, it will not be an issue. I think if you don't change the output state, the input reset and clock is default. You have to add D and N, and you don't have to do anything. This is the input. The states, sorry, the transition. Now all the red color here, initially there's nothing. So this description that give you all the red. And this one you have to use the quarters logic. For quarters, the symbol, this symbol is for N, this tilde symbol is for not. So this is like from S0 to S1, S0, your source destination, the destination S1. So your D has to be 1 and your N has to be 0. So D and not N. D and with not N, and so on. Yeah, from S1 to S2 is also N and not D. Or actually, if you just put D, also okay. S2 to S3, you got that, and so on. So this one, that's why you start with your design manual. So in your report, show me your manual design because in this generated by quarters, it doesn't show you where the R, the output. It doesn't show you the output on the diagram. So the output actually here, output is under action. Yeah? Output port, the output, set the output be 1, so easier to see. This is the active. So the state is active when logic 1. So the R is active also when logic 1. So when is the R is 1? Is when you are coming from state 3 and at the same time you receiving the input of N. Yeah. So these are, I put it all here. So if you want to try with the N and N, if you have other combination, these are the steps that you do. Okay. And this is my simulation. I have to put it back here because I don't like to keep going between one page to another page. So that's why I put it back. Now, this is what you have to show. If I do annotation, I put some colors on it. And let's see. Do we get it right or not? Okay. See. I got big pen. Still I got big pen. Can't get the small pen. Forget it. Now, you always start from S0, state 0 here, because that is the default. Remember, we reset. And actually, you don't have to say anything here. understood it reset. But by right, you put 1 here, but it's okay with this simulation. So you start from S0, and if you're D0, N0, you stay 0. Now you look at the input, I will not, you should not, I put D, N, and N. Never times where D and N is 1 at the same time. Another thing, when do you put it in? Now remember about setup time and hold up time. Yeah? Hold and set. So because this D flip-flop is positive age triggered, therefore you put your input well before the triggered, and that means this is like your setting time and this is the whole time. So you do it near the place where you want to trigger. So this one I put it here. And in order to do this, in your quarters, later on I show you quarters, your grid, snap to grid should be unticked. There's a button. Remember when you do simulation, the first thing you set the grid size, and the second thing you list all the node, right? You say edit, insert node, and the third thing you should do is you go for the grid. It says snap to grid. So you unsnap. Don't lock here to the grid. Grid is what it means by this grid. These are grid, right? If it's the default is locked to grid, I mean you cannot do this drawing, like not on the grid. You have to undo the snap to grid. So this is N. If receive N, it will go to state 1. Right? Sorry, see D. See D, go to state 1. So now we are here. D from here goes here. Right? And then now you receive N, that means you go to state 2. We are here now. And then you receive another N, you go to state 3, you are here. Now, the R, looking at the R, nothing here except for here. Now, this is the... Now, when you receive another N, the third N here, the state goes here, go back to S0, right? And the R is triggered. Now, the R is nice in one clock pulse, I think because if for Milli, actually, it's not nice as this. Probably it just stop here and 0. But because the changes here are slightly different in my simulation, but I think it's better, is because I say the R is registered. Here, registered. That means the output R remain in the register or is registered. So if registered, meaning it stay in that position for 1 clock at least. So you may get something different here. And I think if you follow the equation, the R could be because R is equal to you are in the S3 and you see N and your D is 0, right? This one, S and D 0. Therefore, your N is 1. You follow when N is 0, it goes here. Most likely you got this one. I mean, you got R only short while, short form. But because I put register, it keep there for 1 clock. And I think it's nicer this way rather than only the small. You can check. Okay. Next. This is what I'm trying to explain. In terms of annotation. This is by graph. This is better because I think now we highlight the state as 0 as 1 by the pulse. Okay, you refer to the pulse. This is as 0. It's actually the first pulse is here as 0. This is the default pulse because of reset. And actually here is another S0 because of this one, because you don't receive anything. So S0. Then you receive D, you go to S1. You receive another D, stay S1. And when you see the N, it goes to S2. You see another D, oh, patah balik go back to S1. You see the N, you go to S2. You see another N, go to S3. And then you see another N, then detect. But because I put registered, it stay in the register until one pass. But at the same time, S3 jump to S0, and this is a nice one. You can check, you can do annotation like this, and you can compare. When I say compare, compare to your state diagram. So not only you show me the right one, this is D, N, 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 but also show me if your sequence are not initially right. This one okay, this one is not okay. This is okay, not okay, 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 okay. Okay. So you verify with your state diagram. I would say that one is very clear, and you can maybe you can put your apa, state diagram. You can tally. Sorry. What time is it? This is another. This is what. Sorry, not yet. This is the mistake. Actually, this is the first thing that I did. I got mistake here. If you find something like this, also mistake. The mistake is not under input or input, but also at the output. But actually, the output. Why? D N N N should not yet. Wait. Okay. D N. Start first. D N N. Now N is here. This is a mistake. So if you give me this is wrong. Why? You trigger too fast. The N is here. But you only see D and N. Suddenly triggered. So this is wrong. The reason is because I forgot to put the N here. Okay. Incorrect because the additional condition not set. So you have to put the action. Okay. That is a mistake that I learned. Actually, I did before, but I forgot. So you may have that kind of problem. But mistake is a learning process, right? Don't think that you waste time. So when you do mistake, you learn where. Okay. This is also have problem here. Let's see. Where is the problem? Here. This is the problem that I received in my simulation. I got D and N. Oh, I got two here. Double output trigger. This is also wrong. And why I try to figure out, let's see. I'm not sure why. I think because of this current clock. Somewhere is the mistake. The additional condition is there. I think here, the current clock, if I'm not mistaken, the cause of it. Okay. So this is not allowed. This is also a mistake. And then I modify. I modify this. Oh yeah, this one is not registered. Because it's not registered, it do double triggered, and also I change this one. So that is a modification, and it come back correct. But actually, if I try, you can try. Try if you say not registered, but only in all next block. I think maybe you got problem also that one. Okay, so now it's okay because D N triggered. This one is just to see the cycle from which circle to another circle to another circle. So nice to check your complete state diagram. If you do mistake, for example, like this, the D, the N, the D, the N, triggered again here. So at least you see the D, the N, the N. Now this is a more approach. For more approach, the only difference is where? The only difference, here you got additional state. D, N. I think we have done that. We have done this. This one, nothing. So from here, S4 to me, you don't need to put anything, which is this line. From S4 to S0, you don't need to give any condition. And the output, what's the output? Input, general, the output here, okay? The output here, yes, no, where? you don't need to put action. The actions, I don't use the action. Here. Here. The output, the output port here, R. R is equal to S4 and you don't need to put the condition because the output is actually here. The output is there. Okay? So you don't need to put N here. The R. So actually, S4 is your output. So state 4 is S4 and R is S4. Okay? So,
Doktor nak tanya,
okay. Baru dah dengar suara.
nak tanya, R tu memang
Yeah.
sentiasa ada dekat stage yang paling last
Yeah. Sebab dia nak detect D, N, N, N. Jadi bermakna selagi belum jumpa all the four, selagi tu dia takkan trigger. So dia D, N, N kat sini lah dia. Unless you ada, unless you kata D, N, N, N or D, N, N also dia detect, then others kat sini sekali dia kan. Maknanya ada dua cara lah dia nak turn on kan. Dalam case ni dia nak satisfy all the four. So the more, the hints or the tips for the more is, kalau you ada 4 bits, 4 variation here you have to detect, walaupun N dia sama, you need 1, 2, 3, 4. Clear, the 4 pun mesti duduk and baru letak. Okay?
Okay.
And then the output here dah tak payah bagi condition. Kan? So the output, nampak the output for more, it doesn't depend on the present state. That's why the output only depend on the state only, which is S4. Okay? This one, detect. So I detect, this one is I'm a bit lazy, I put the S. This is D, and let's see, where's the notation? This is the D, the N, dekat sini, the detect. N dah masuk kan? Okay, the detect dekat H. So the R is detect, and the R is exactly this. S4 kan? It's exactly the same. Right? And it goes from S0, S1. This is a clean one lah. Clean input. No error. In this case, I just make an error. Go back to S0, D, and N. So it goes correct. Correct. Suddenly D. Somebody, Burhanuddin. Do you have student Burhanuddin? Then suddenly, you make mistake, you put D. I go back to S1, right? So you return back to S1 and then you put another D or stay in S1. This is why I like when you highlight this thing, you see the movement from one state to another state to another state or have to return, right? You have to label and you also highlight the detection. And why detect? You highlight D, N, N as well. Okay? I think this is about the end. That's finished. That's all. You want me to show you the simulation as well, okay? Why no signal? Stop application sharing. I stop sharing. I think it's already 1 hour. Your internet already finished like 1 hour. How many gig? Nearly 1 gig already. You want me to continue? I think it's enough already. Are you still with me?
Yes, doctor, we're with you.
Yes,
Yes, doktor.
You want to stop? I just want to test my. Can I show you this or not? You have nothing on the screen, right? At the moment.
Yes.
We don't
Nothing.
have anything.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing.
Because I don't share. Wait. Let me share. Let me share. I want to see whether I can do sharing or not. Stop sharing. You close the last. No, I don't want to start sharing. Yeah, I want to share. Here. Now I'm sharing my quarters. Can you see?
Yes.
Yes, I see.
Now it's moving, right? Now for your simulation, it'll be nice if you remember you have either Jing software or what Yusri is doing. Yusri, are you here?
Yes,
Yusri.
doktor. Yeah.
Yusri, you capture my recording using what?
Guna Xbox. Xbox. Apa benda tu dekat dalam laptop saya memang ada untuk screen record.
Awak nampak tak nama gambar awak sekarang? Nama ni?
Nampak?
Ya. Sebab tiba-tiba skrin saya terjadi satu je
Okay.
saya nak tendang. Saya dah buat ni sequence detector. Here, I have all this one. You start with SMF. This is one, right? Now, actually, I have found problem. This is the first start, and then this is a simplified one. This is the easier, the better one. DNNN, right? And then what? You cannot simulate. You cannot compile this one. So you have to do the set as top level. Then you do this one, right? This is to generate the HDL file, and then you say okay. Yeah, you just say yes. Override, and you come up with this. And then, if just to be safe, you just say, I think it's done right. Okay, you just say project add to current, just to make sure that it is in current, and then it will create you this one .v. This one you can simulate. I do simulation without. I do compiling without the hardware. For faster, I'll just show you what I already have lah. This is actually what I think this is milli. Because the more I put more, milli I just put. So give the proper name and proper sequence. And if you can do like what you're doing, you can show me the process like your hardware is your something like this, which is already 4%. Okay. Okay. Done. And then you can go back to your SMF. And I already done this one. I don't want this is so this one is the example that I did, and we just do simulation. Okay. You try and actually if you try to give me all the combination within one screen, that would be too crowded. Okay. So don't do it like that, but rather show me a few screens like I did for your reporting. Then do annotation. Annotation means you either put here. Initially, you don't have the annotation, so of course you have to copy. And the R here is you have the D and N. Now this part, of course, because I'm telling you, but when you do reporting, I just read whatever you have. So you have to write something so that I can read your mind, basically. Right. Then the one that I say to you, how do you able to do this is here. In the edit, this one, snap to grid is default. When you do snap to grid, let me close this one. Here is snap to grid. If you do snap to grid, when you try to draw halfway, it doesn't. Oh, this one can, because I think before, it's not snap to grid. If I do snap to grid, here stick. If I want to do from half to half, it won't allow me. So this is what you do. If you want to do a smaller one, so that you ensure the setup and the load time is only around this area, then you have to, on the edit, you have to undo or untick that one. Then on the process. Okay? And then you can simulate. And the rest of this is in the e-learning. You can get the application note on how to do this. Of course, in the example, they use vending machine for the proper vending machine. But for you, you can do this one. Okay? So I think that's all. I think your internet also take too much of your data already. Right. Anything that you want to ask? Okay, stop application sharing. Yes. Okay, that's all. I think that's good enough.